on career development and engineering entrepreneurship. I'm Manula Tendakon and I'll be your host on this remarkable evening. The webinar on career development and engineering entrepreneurship is the third phase of the webinar series organized alongside EESPIRE 2022, the official career fair of Department of Electrical Engineering of the University of Maratua, which was organized for the third consecutive time this year. Throughout this, we hope you all will get a comprehensive idea about developing your careers in engineering and entrepreneurship, which would help you to secure a place in the highly competitive industry and its unique job market. In order to move on to welcome you all, let me introduce you the President of Electrical Engineering Society of the University of Maratua, Dr. Tushara Ratnayaka. Over to you, Madam.
Good evening, everyone. Engineer Lalit Kahatapitia and my dear students, on behalf of the Department and Electrical Engineering Society, I would like to warmly welcome our distinguished personality, Engineer Lalit Kahatapitia, as the invited speaker of one of the webinar on this EESPIRE 2022. This webinar series has been organized by Electrical Engineering Society as an effort of the Department, Electrical Engineering Department, to help our students who are going to graduate and enter the working society in next couple of months. Department to be held in next week. Qualification of Engineer Lalit Kahatapitia. I highly believe that this session would be really beneficial for our students to develop their abilities, part of reaching and maintaining their engineering career. I would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude for accepting our invitation to be a resource person in this webinar series. I also welcome my dear students with great pleasure for the workshop, because we know that due to power cuts and various issues, there are a lot of difficulties of joining. So, but omitting that, because you all have joined here, so I welcome you all. I'm sure that this would be really a valuable session for the development of your career path and to get motivated. And I wish you all the success. I welcome you all once again to the workshop webinar, and hope that you all will have an invaluable, memorable, and nice evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam, for that warm welcome. Before moving on to the essence of the session, I would like to remind you all to keep your microphones muted during the main session to avoid any disturbances. If you have any doubts, you can use the chat box to direct any questions you have, or we have arranged a Q&A session just after the guest speaker's presentation. There you can raise your voice, you can unmute yourself and direct your questions to our guest speaker. So now it's time to move ahead with the most critical part of the agenda you all have been waiting for. To let you all know how to develop careers in engineering and entrepreneurship, let me welcome the guest speaker for this remarkable event, Mr. Lalit Kahatapitia. Mr. Lalit Kahatapitia is the founder and chairman of KIK Group, specialized in electrical engineering field. He is a chartered engineer, a fellow of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, UK, a fellow of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, UK, a fellow of the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. In the year 2004, he was awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year Platinum Award, which is a once-in-a-lifetime award for an entrepreneur. Under his leadership, KIK Group has won the Presidential Export Award for exports in electrical and electronic sector. It's my pleasure and honor to invite you, Mr. Lalit Kahatapitia, to deliver the session. Dear sir, The spotlight is yours.
Thank you, Manjula. I hope you all can see me clearly and hear me clearly. Can I have some confirmation?
Yes, sir, you are audible and we can see you video.
Right. Okay. If by any time if you can't hear me, please feel free to at least somebody speak up and say that I can't hear. Then I will. I'll check what has gone wrong here. At the same time, if there's any power change, I'll be back in a minute. Just bear with me if there's a power cut or whatever at this time. Everything is quite unpredictable at a time like this, but doesn't matter. Let's go ahead. And even if there's no power, don't worry, I'll come back even on even everything else doesn't work, still I have the mobile phone with me. So I'll even join with the mobile. Right. To get back to today's subject about the entrepreneurship and career development, let's look at things in quite a different way. Like, I always look at things in a very, very simple way, rather than going into quite a lot of details. Let's understand what is entrepreneurship, and then exactly what should we be doing for career development as well. Now, when I quite often get requests from various institutions to come and speak about entrepreneurship. So one day I went through the dictionaries to find out what exactly is entrepreneurship. So after seeing the Oxford dictionaries the real definition about entrepreneurship, I really felt ashamed about myself, because I felt ashamed of being an entrepreneur, because the real definition they have given is entrepreneur is a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. I'll repeat again. Somebody who takes up business or financial risks in the hope of a profit. So when I saw that, I was wondering, have I been going after money? Profit means again money. So have I been going after money, or is this definition the right thing? Then I realized, no, it doesn't apply to me definitely. So forget about these definitions and everything they are in the dictionaries and wherever, and let's look at entrepreneurship also in a different way. If entrepreneurship is to make money or make profits, it's like my telling you that all of us live to eat. Do we live to eat, or do we eat to live? I believe all of us. But there are some people who really live to eat. And there are some individuals who got into business just to earn money. But there's a lot more things that we can look at in a different way. Money is also required. It's a part of, so food is required for us to live. Without food, we will die. So food is required. So we eat the food to live, but we don't live to eat. And similarly, if you look at a motor vehicle, a car needs fuel to move here and there. A car is made, but is a car made to burn fuel? No, it's two different things. A vehicle is not made for the purpose of burning fuel, but then it's made to travel from one place to the other or take some goods from one place to the other. But to do that, it needs fuel. Now, what I'm trying to understand is being an entrepreneur does not mean that you work to earn money. It's completely different from the real entrepreneurship. So I will give you some examples for you to understand how I became an entrepreneur, and then how I look at things. This will definitely help you to go in the right direction. At the same time, before we get into entrepreneurship, it's very important for you to visualize. Now, when you become an entrepreneur, and I'll be also going into entrepreneurship, which is also a sort of an entrepreneur, but in a much safer environment, then whatever you do, you can be a professional, you can be technically or highly a scientist, whatever. And what is the image that you want to live in the world? When your name is told, what should people feel? Now, we know of many names. The moment that name is mentioned, the image we get is, oh, he's a thief, or he's a robber. Lot of names, common names are there that we hear quite often. But what is just take a few examples on your own and then think, okay, when we hear that person's name, what do you feel? So when somebody someday hears your name, what should he or she feel when your name is mentioned? Has it got to be, should you be known as a person who robbed the country, or should you be known as a person who contributed a lot to this universe, or should we be known as a person who has been very trustworthy, who never cheated anyone? Things like that. There are lots of ways of projecting yourself, your image in as you grow. So that's very important. To do that, the most important thing is for us to decide what are the values that we have to stick to. Each of us will have to identify, okay, I will stick to these values. Even in our organizations, we talk of values, especially in the organization which we created, that's KIK. The first thing that we talk about is the values of everybody. Some of those values, if I am to mention, that all of us need to be trustworthy. So if we say something, we cannot break that word. Should people have to believe in whatever we say? So the trustworthiness is one of the things that we really care for. And then there are lots of other values as well. So you have to decide what are going to be my values. It can be empathy, it can be serving the others, or it can be empowering, letting people know many things that every individual first have to decide. These are going to be the values I will never change. I will always stick to these values until the last day. So decide on these values. It's very important. The values that you are going to stick to will create the final image that you are going to build in your careers or in your life, wherever. Those values are very important. One of the reasons that we probably have come up to this stage today is in the absence of values. If everybody those days decided on certain values, then the country would have been much different. It's not too late now. Okay, let's start building up on our own values. And for no reason, don't deviate from those values. Once you decide, these are going to be my values. I am stressing on the importance of values because values are important for you to be an entrepreneur, for you to be a professional, for you to be a scientist, or even a politician, a real politician. Yes, that will be help. That will help you to be a leader. Everywhere it helps in the right direction when you know these are the values that I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to say, name all the values and say, okay, these are my values. No, it does not have to be the same. It can be quite different. Each individual can have their own values. Please try to identify the values. Next, now, before I come into various stories from my life, I also want to talk about something which I really believe. That's called entrepreneurship. I believe we have to, more than the entrepreneurship, this is the time that we need to talk of entrepreneurship, becoming an entrepreneur. So that's really important. If I got this chance to throughout my life, I would still have been an entrepreneur and probably would have contributed more to this society than becoming an entrepreneur. Now, for an example, at KIK, that's one of the cultures that we are trying to build up. When you look at an entrepreneur, all what he has is he has the freedom to think of something and do it the way he wishes to do it, and experiment with new things, make blunders, can become a failure. So all those are what an entrepreneur feels. But what happens even when you are a part of an organization, if you have all those, if you have an opportunity to try out your own ideas, to try out various new things, the opportunity to even make mistakes and learn, to work happily, and that's entrepreneurship within an organization that can be built into any organization. All you got to do is make that environment for people to feel free, to try out new things. Whenever the new engineers join our company, the first thing I tell them, you can talk to some of your friends, if you know any of them, the first thing I tell them is, do not think that this company has the perfect rules and regulations. Don't follow any of them. Think of your own, challenge it. This may be wrong and it can be improved. So challenge it. It's not sticking to the system. It's always improving the system. So look at ways of challenging this and then making a difference, making it a better place. So that's how you build a culture of entrepreneurship. I had that experience in my life when I was an employee. Once I had that experience when I was at a very junior engineer. That was in, I would say, very early 1980s. That's before most of you were born. I used to work in a company called Heavy Fab, and under, I call him my best boss in my life. One engineer, he's a chartered engineer Parakrama Jai Singh, who is still like my guru. I always contact him for whatever if I need some help or assistance or ideas, he's the person I look up to and then call. When I was with him for about 2 years, and during that time, I had all the freedom. He had empowered me in many things. He entrusted me things that no one would entrust a fresher to go and undertake. Huge projects. He just put me in charge and said, Lalit, I'm sure you can do it. And that confidence that he gave, and he said, if you find it difficult, yes, talk to me. But at that time, keep in mind, we didn't have cell phones and all that in the early 1980s. So I was put in charge of various sites far away, one in Kantale, and then if I try to tell all those stories, your time will not be enough for this seminar. But then what I'm trying to say is the challenges that he put me in, and the confidence he had, and the way he empowered me, I really enjoyed. I felt that I could do anything. And that's where I experienced real entrepreneurship. And that's why even after that, when that part was not there, I decided, okay, this is something that we need to really look into. So entrepreneurship, we started inculcating into the KIK culture in our company. And I believe there are many other companies who look into that in the same way, where they provide opportunities for people to do new things, completely new things, and do various experiments. Just act like, just be an entrepreneur within an organization, and that's entrepreneurship. So this is something that is really essential at this time, because if an organization has a set of rules and they tell them, okay, you follow these rules, that organization is not going to go forward. It will be the same thing, doing the same thing. But for it to do new things, all the brains will have to work. This reminds me of, I will not share the name of that organization. A director of that organization, which is a very old organization, told me about a couple of weeks back. She said when she was working in the organization, which was built by her father or grandfather, one of the senior employees had told her, "Madam, I would have been much better if there was a chance to use my brains." So he has said, "I have been contributing my efforts and my sweat into this company, but not the brains." So this is something that we need to really keep in mind. When you grow and then when you start getting into business, make use of all the brains around you. Then it becomes a much more powerful brain than trying to make use of our own things. Okay, right. The first thing that in career development and in becoming either a professional or a scientist or engineer or an entrepreneur, the first thing is clearly identifying exactly what you want to be. What are you trying to do? And this is very important. And this is something which I never even had from my childhood. Even I didn't know what I'm going to do. I had no idea. And as a result, I was not even keen in studying. So my studies were not that brilliant, not very bad as well. But then even to get into university, my marks were not enough, because I had no intention of exactly what I'm trying to do. So it's important for you to decide what are you going to really aim at, why, and also another important thing. Now people call it your vision. The technical word that most of the people talk is that is your vision. The other, more than the vision, you have to also have an idea. Why should I go there? Why should I become an entrepreneur? Or why should I become a professional? The why is the driving force that will really take you there. Now, let me tell you some examples. I told you that I was not fortunate like all of you to get into university. So my father and I was doing various things. In fact, I tried various to become, not even with the idea of becoming an entrepreneur. I was trying various new things. So if I try to explain all those things, again, I'm going out of my, for one example, I'll tell you, I was even making watercolors when I was going to school. So making watercolors, selling watercolors in the surrounding school because there was a shortage of watercolors. And then, so similarly, a lot of things like that. Because there was a shortage of watercolors, and that's the time that I started making watercolors. Then my father decided this man is not going to go anywhere, so he spoke to one of his cousins that he was working in the Ceylon Tobacco and said, "Can you get this boy there and then teach him something?" So I was taken into the Ceylon Tobacco company, and I was put in. I was taken in as a field instructor. A field instructor is a guy who will instruct the tobacco farmers to look after the plantations and then instruct the farmers. So we were being trained. So the training was in Madukota, and then early morning we had to get up around 4:30 or 5, and it's a very cool area. It's a little we had to pass Hunasgiri and then go to Madukota. And I could remember as a very young person, going to the water stream down and the chilled, it's very, very cool having a bath in the water stream and then getting back to the field with all the manatees, crowbars and everything in your hand. There were about another 20 or 25 batchmates with me. And we were given, everyone was given 1/4 of an acre of land to cut the jungle and then make the beds for the tobacco to grow and get the plants. And the entire cultivation from the beginning, from clearing the jungle, we were trained. So during this time, I started thinking, now I had no aim in life and I had ended up as I'm going to be an instructor. So I was undergoing the training. So what if something happens to my father? I was the eldest in the family, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, younger to me. And I was thinking, what happens if something happens to my father? How am I going to look after everybody? At that time, that was in, again, mid-1970s, 1970, around 76, beginning of 76, I would say, early 1976. If something happens to my father, how am I going to look after the entire family? Because I'll be paid as a field instructor at that time, 750 rupees a month, which was a fairly good salary. But with 750, then can I look after all these people? My mother, my grandaunt, and then so if I get married, my wife and my family, how I'm going to? So all these things were really bothering me. Then only I got the desire I should become an engineer, because I thought of an engineer, becoming an engineer, because I had cousins who were engineers and who were leading really luxurious lives. So I thought, okay, becoming an engineer is the answer. As a young boy, this is how I thought. And that's how I started working for becoming an engineer. And once I got this idea, it's so wonderful to understand when you have a desire, when you really understand exactly what you have to do, wonderful things happen. All of a sudden, I got a piece of paper which came with some wrapping. Somebody has brought something wrapped in a piece of paper which had an advertisement from the National Apprenticeship Board calling for engineering apprentices. So the moment the word engineering I saw, then now I was thinking of how to become an engineer. Here I am seeing an advertisement of the apprenticeship board calling for engineering apprentices. Now see how things happen. If I didn't have that idea, the crazy idea of becoming an engineer, why did I want to become an engineer? Again, because the requirement was for me to be enabled to look after my family. And that really worked. So when I saw that advertisement, I applied. And then that's how I started getting into the port as a Colombo port as one of the engineering apprentices. And of course, when I was doing that, I knew that I cannot become an engineer just because I complete the apprenticeship board. Then, of course, I started looking at various avenues. How am I going to end up as an engineer? Then when I was looking for it, I found, okay, I can do the exams of the Council of Engineering Institutions, London, those days. That's again in the mid-70s. So then from Sri Lanka, I studied for those exams, and then I followed the exams and got through those exams whilst working as an apprentice in the Colombo port. And that's how I got into the field of engineering. I'm trying to tell you the importance of exactly knowing what you want to become and then why you want to become that. Now, when I wanted to become an engineer, there was a reason. Not just a fancy idea of becoming an engineer, but there was a reason, a very strong reason for me to become an engineer. And actually, that was good thinking at that time. when I started working as an engineer, and when I was getting a good income, my father passed away, and then of course I was in a position to look after the entire family without any problem. So this is again looking at things, trying to find out exactly what you want to be and why you want to be that. May it be an entrepreneur, can be any other thing. But even becoming an entrepreneur, there has to be a reason. Don't try to become an entrepreneur to earn money. That's a fancy thing. That's a fancy thing. Earning money, you can probably go and rob a bank if you don't look at the values. So with the values that you're going to, which I spoke to you today, you can't go and you can't be robbing a bank. So then in that case, there has to be a different way, but not to make money. Even becoming an entrepreneur, there has to be a reason. Why? Even to become a professional, to become a scientist, to become a politician, or to become whoever who you want to be, find out exactly, I'm trying to become this, and then the reason will be the driving force. Even becoming an entrepreneur in my case was it's quite accidental, I would say. The real becoming an entrepreneur, I'd say accidental, means I was happy working as an employee in various companies. Especially I enjoyed the work under Mr. Parakrama Jayasinghe, engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe, whom I told you. And then of course, from time to time, I had experiences in many fields, working at different places. In the latter part, I was feeling that I'm missing something. And then I realized I was missing the opportunity of which I had with Mr. Parakrama Jayasinghe, the freedom that I wanted, for me to be free and then try all my new things, the new ideas, innovations, or whatever, new things. When that is missing, when I felt that I have to just follow instructions, that's not what I am made for. And that's the reason, finally, I decided to get out of my employment. That was a very good employment. Money-wise, I was very well looked after. I had one of the biggest salaries in the country at that time. But it's not the money. It's not the money, definitely. If I thought of money, I would never have gone out or resigned from my employment. But it's something beyond that. The happiness, the feeling of freedom and all that, and that's what I was lacking, and I was ready to sacrifice anything. I just quit the job without exactly knowing what to do. So this is how I was rather pushed into becoming an entrepreneur. Not that I've been dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur. In my case, this will not be the case in everybody. This is a very exceptional case. I was just pushed to becoming an entrepreneur. I was pushed into the deep sea, and then I started KIK in a very small way, and that's how I ended up here today. The important thing, when you know exactly what you are trying to achieve, as I told you, you can see new things. Various opportunities will come your way. You will start seeing various opportunities. And this is exactly similar to, now for an example, it's like this. Now around us here in the atmosphere, it's filled with all types of rays and signals and all that, which we don't see. You might have a television in front of you, but if it is switched off, you don't see anything. But when you switch on the television and tune it to a certain frequency, then the channel you want will start appearing there. Exactly that happens in your mind when your mind is set to a certain frequency. Okay, this is what I'm trying to be. This is what I am going to be. This is what I am working for. And when you know the reason, I have to go there because of this reason. It's a very strong feeling. Then only the real pictures will appear. Then only you will start seeing opportunities. Now, around us, how many telephone signals we must be going here and there right now? How many radio signals might be surrounding here? But if I take a radio and then tune it to a certain channel, then I can hear it. So similarly, it's very important for you to identify and then set your system to receive the signals what you want to receive. So that's the power of knowing what you want to be and the power of knowing exactly why you want to be there, why you want to be there, not just to become an entrepreneur, why you want to be an entrepreneur. The next thing, when you know exactly what you are trying to do, you need to again start working for it, where the career development gets in at every stage. At every stage. Now, when I wanted to become an engineer, it didn't happen automatically. I had to learn, I had to study day and night. Sometimes I had to study, work during the daytime, study in the night, sometimes take the books to the where I was working in the port and then read it there. It was very hard. It was but I was prepared to sacrifice anything. Even the sacrifice I made was when I was at the Ceylon Tobacco. The salary I was about to get was 750 rupees a month. So if I finished my training, but I was prepared to give up that 750 and then join the port for 115 rupees a month, because I knew exactly what direction I have to go. And I was prepared to sacrifice anything. It's not the money. So if I again thought of the money at that time, I would have stuck to that 750. Here, a man trying to have a better living, giving up 750 and settling for 115 because I had a reason. This is exactly what I want to be. And I had a strong reason to be what I wanted, which was the driving force behind that. So then with all this, when all those are there, the next comes your acquiring the necessary knowledge. So a degree, what you learn in the university is one part. But again, when it comes to your final destination or what you're trying to be, there are lots of other things that you need to learn. Now, learning has never been easier now than it's easier than ever before. Whatever skill you want to earn or get is so easy with all the facilities around you, webinars or you name it, books, Amazon or various other ebook readers around you, with the internet. The learning and acquiring skills is really easy. So once you know exactly where you're going to go, then look at what skills you need to acquire, how you need to develop your career to reach where you have to go. And once you go there, you can't stop there. The learning is a lifelong thing. I have never stopped learning. Even in my phone, I have the book reader here. I use Kindle very often. So either Kindle or iBook reader and many things. Learning, I believe I will keep on learning until my last day. So learning and career development, these are all goes hand in hand. But I would advise you to develop your career in line with your vision in life, in line with your desire in life, in line with why you want to go where you go. So depending on that only, you need to really get your learning. Another thing that all of us have, but then we don't know we have it. So this is another important thing that I want to share with you. How long have we started? Around 6:15, isn't it? I'll take about another 10 minutes and then 10-15 minutes, and then we can go in for a question and answer. The other thing that we need to really understand is what I'm trying to say is we all have it, but We don't know that we have it. We are not sure. That's about the confidence. Most of us are not confident really. We believe that we can't do things. We believe that it's the society probably that has made us feel like that. But if you really understand the power within you, you can do wonders. I only believe in the power within me. There was a time that I believed in other powers, but from my childhood, I decided I will believe in the power within me. Maybe when I was in that's during the time that I was doing the engineering exams. That's the time I decided I will only believe in the power within me and then make use of that. So then I was confident to touch anything, do anything. Even when I decided that the freedom I look in life is not there, I didn't think twice. Everybody thought I have gone off my head to give up a very good employment, which gave me a huge income, and then quit and then start from zero. Even my entire family was shocked when I said I'm going to resign. Finally, my wife understood and said, okay, Lalit, it's your decision. And if you feel that you have to do it, I'm with you. And then she finally agreed, but even she was nervous because without a job, what I'm going to do? So, but then the confidence, when you are confident, you can do anything. When I can remember when I was working at Heavy Fab, I was asked whether I can take over the Trincomalee water supply scheme, water intake, pile driving site. I have never seen a pile in my life at that time. So Mr. Jayasinghe came and told, Lalit, I'm sure you can go and take over the site. But the way he told that, he said, if you have any problem, contact me, but I'm sure you can do it. So I went to Kantale, took over the site, and even without knowing what a pile looks like, I took over this pile driving site and did it very successfully. So these are the type of thing that confidence can do. There are many other things that we accepted in life, challenges, knowing that we can do things. Even there was a time that when I started KIK in a very small way, and we were having about, at that time, probably about 30 employees with us. There was a time that we were not having enough work, even to feed the 30 people, or 30, 35, or 40 people. The amount of work was not enough for us to keep them going. Then again, I was thinking, my motive there was to keep the people. We grew like a family, so I couldn't lose any of them. And I saw somebody trying to write an application to go abroad. When I asked him, he said, if I stay here, I'm a burden to you. So that really gave me a shock. And then I started, what am I to do? So even when I was having maybe less than 40 people at that time, how I can keep the people was the motive behind it. And then I realized, okay, if there's not enough work in the country, let me try to go to sell abroad, to start exporting. And that's how we went to the BOI and then started the KIK Lanka factory there. The first factory we started only with that idea in mind. So that was the driving force, was to make sure that the people there are looked after well. So when you are confident that you can do anything, you see new ways of doing it. Similarly, I can remember when we made many inventions which have been patented. All those patents are international patents. All those inventions, when we made it, we were confident that we can take it to the world. But then I didn't have the knowledge of how those things can be produced. But again, I thought, no, we have to make that and then make use of that to make some contribution into the economy of this country. And that's how the kick blocks factory came up. We managed to acquire the required skills, and then we set it up, all because of the confidence. When you are also confident of yourself, you become persistent. You will never give up because you're confident that you can reach it. So the confidence plays a huge role in whatever achievement that you are going to make. Now, don't ever think that you can't do anything. You can do. Now, don't think that we are going to be jobless in the future. No, let's create jobs. It's in our hands. It's in our hands. So it's a matter of getting to know what we have to do. I know some of the students in the Kaduna, if you take your university, there are students who had called me and said that they listened to my, those days I used to come and address the batches, the entire batches of university. I can remember doing it for about 5-6 years. On the first day, you have a meeting where, I don't know what you call it. So some speakers come and then tell you various things, and then I was one of them. So there were students who called me and said, we listened to you, and that day we decided we will do something on your own. And there are people who started various organizations, and finally they had, some of them had called me and then tagged me and come and even met me. This has happened many times. So it's a matter of knowing the idea, getting the ideas, and then finding your way. One little thing that is blocking us is we are still not sure. We, Sri Lankans especially, are not sure, and we try to plan everything before we start anything. No, not necessary. Just start. Just start, because when you start, you will start seeing the next stage. But without starting, it's very difficult to just plan everything right from top to the bottom. You will be planning until we die. No, don't let it happen. If you have an idea, if you know this is what I'm going to do and why I am going to do it, both what I'm going to do it and why am I going to do it, then how we are going to do, you will come across definitely. There's no two words about it. All you got to know is identify where you are going to be and why, the reason, the driving force, why you should become that. Then that will be the driving force, and how you do it will appear in your journey. Just start when you have an idea. So don't wait until you perfect everything. It's not necessary. So I'll just share some of my life stories for you to understand exactly becoming an entrepreneur or career development. These are all not magic things. These are all common things. These are all, I would say, there's no theory. It's just common sense. It's a matter of looking at things in a very, very, very simple way, and then try to understand how we are going to do it. So this is, I believe, the time that I should get enough questions from all of you so that I can explain some more. Now it's your time to ask all the questions that you feel you should ask.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insightful, informative, and interesting session. With that, now all of you might have some questions, doubts, or clarifications to be asked from our honorable guest speaker. If so, this is the time for you, and this is the time for your questions. As I mentioned before, you can either use the chat box or you can directly ask your questions of our honorable guest speaker by unmuting yourself. And I highly encourage all of the participants not to miss this great opportunity to get your questions answered from a well-experienced and skilled person in the industry.
Looks like that I have confused you all. Is it? Did I? Or did I make it too clear?
It is all very clear, sir.
I thought that I have really confused everybody. There's a question on the chat. What is that? When you briefly mentioned the opportunities in the current electrical and electronics market in Sri Lanka for an entrepreneur. Also, what are the new trends and any predictions about this market? Electronics and electrical, these are essential things like food for human being. Electrical and electronic, both the engineering fields will not vanish during our lifetime. So plenty of things. It's a matter of finding out what we have to do. So opportunities are there. As I told you, the opportunities relevant to you will appear when you make your mind up as to what your service is going to be, what difference are you going to make. So think about that, think like that. Just joining a firm for the start is good to gain experience. And also, as far as I know, for all the engineers, there are plenty of opportunities within Sri Lanka as well. And there are plenty of students from Katubedda who has started new things during even before they graduated from Katubedda. So look at things, look at the vacuums in the market and see what contributions you can. You don't have to know everything. You can have you can get teams who have knowledge, put everything together and then try to make things. So any questions that you want to ask? Or anything, if I didn't make anything not clear, what are the industries we can consider to start entrepreneurship these days? As I told you again, don't look at the industry or becoming an entrepreneur. Just try to see what you can. Say for an example, now we have come up to a stage where we are using conventional energy. Why don't we think of different ways? For an example, we have become a country where we consume about 32 tons of diesel to generate fuel in the country, whereas the entire transport needs about 8,000, I was told. So this is the time that we need to think quite differently, where the country will also change, where the economy will change. Why should we be generating power on these expensive and dying fossil fuels? So a lot of new various ways of doing things, and that's where the opportunity comes in thinking of innovative ways. So lot of new things. Think about new things. Even I have been now these days I'm experimenting in cooking with solar, which is a very simple thing. Making just look, if you search the internet under solar black box cooking or whatever, simple theory, you can easily make your own cookings, but you need to. It's a little bit different from the conventional cooking, but you have to practice and do a bit of experiments and then find out exactly how to do it. We tried at KIK and it came very nicely. We made some meals and then even I tasted it. So I'm doing more and more experiments these days, and a lot of things can be done. This is the time that the engineers really come forward and then make a change. As I told you, a country which didn't even note that from 1977, every year we had been spending more than what we earn. So naturally, it's no wonder that we have come up to this stage. When I was the Entrepreneur of the Year 2004, that speech is still in YouTube. If you search Lalit Kahatapitiya Entrepreneur of the Year speech, look at it in the YouTube, where I'm very specific. I'm just a layman. I'm just a citizen of this country. I'm not a politician. I'm not in politics at all. So I was saying that at that time, there was a very small trade deficit only, 2004 and 6. And I said, we are spending more than we earn. If we go on like this, the future generations will start cursing us. So that was 20 years back. And I could see it. So as I told you, this is all not rocket science. It's just looking at things in a very simple way. Opportunities are there, plenty of opportunities. Grab the first opportunity that you get and see what you can contribute to this country. And of course, you will really do wonders. And I told you about the various values. One of the values that we really admire, we all stick to at KIK is the gratitude. So that is one of the reasons why I stayed in this country without going out of the country. I thought this country, that's where I was born, and then I got my education here. I'll have to do something for the society, and that I had in my mind. And that's the very reason which really kept me here and then made me grow in this country. So be confident. First of all, understand that you have the power to create things. You have the power to change things. You have the power to do many new things. And then it's a matter of getting the idea. Sometimes the ideas come in different ways. One important thing I always do is I keep a small notebook and a pencil near my bed. That's very important. Because even in the night, now I told you that I started KIK when we didn't have enough work in the country. We thought we will go into the export market, and then we started the first BOI company. That idea I just got one night. But again, all of a sudden, I made it a point to even write down that idea. So, okay, go to BOI and then check about starting a new company. And then I put a note and then slept. Sometimes we get ideas, and then next time, if you don't follow it, we tend to forget. So when you get new ideas, make sure that you make a note of it also. There's a question, are there any opportunities currently available for electrical engineers at KIK? We just got about 4 or 5 new engineers we got. I'm not sure. Only the HR guys will know whether we have more opportunities there. Some of your friends must be there already. I would like to, and also don't feel afraid. Just speak out. I think all of you should unmute your phones and then ask some questions. Don't worry. It can be a silly question also. But this is an opportunity to discuss and come out with new ideas.
Excuse me, sir. I have one small question. May I know what are the challenges you faced during the journey of your career, and what are the failures you faced, and how did you overcome those?
Good, very good. It's not a small question. I think it's a big question. Thank you very much. Well, as I told you, I was doing a lot of things during my school days. All those I would say like entrepreneurial attempts. I said one was making the watercolors, and the 12 times I would say I miserably failed in many things. Like I was into gemming or gem mining. I was into buying and selling gems. I was into agriculture, trying to make various crops and then sell. And like that, I counted once, there were 12 times that I tried. One was again making Instead of the robin blue those days, I started making a liquid blue. That we had the powder blue those days, but now it's not used. A powder called robin blue, where you take some blue color powder, put it into your hand, and then put it into the water, and then put your white clothes, and it becomes brighter. So then one time I was making, instead of water, I made a liquid, and we named it Coca Blue. So becoming an entrepreneur, I have failed 12 times. So then again, I found out all those things, I never had a clear idea. I never had a driving force behind those ideas. But when I started KIK, and when I wanted the real freedom, there was a huge driving force for me to go after the freedom that I was looking for. That also gave me the idea that I should really give that opportunity to every member in our family. Failures, there are plenty of failures. And if you give up, then you lose everything. When I went to India, trying to sell in the Indian market, people laughed. And their laughs really made me momentarily disheartened. One of my friends, he laughed and said, "You're an idiot, you are wasting your time here. We have thousands of people like you in every junction. And do you think that our guys will come to Sri Lanka and then buy your electrical?" We were trying to sell the electrical switchboards, which were made in the factory we had at that time. We still have that factory also. So so those are all failures. Then because he said that nobody will come to your country, I went to India and started my office there in India. But for about 1.5 years, we didn't get a single order. So that itself is a failure. But then I never stopped, kept on fighting and fighting and fighting. And finally, we made the breakthrough and then sold to many of their giant projects. The first underground metro we did, the first 6 stations were 100% made by us. Then the Nokia, Motorola, Daimler, Flextronics, Nissan, I can't remember, so many big factories, Hyundai, all the factories. So if you take any of these factories, it's about, some factories are about 500 acres of land or 750 acres of land, huge. We managed to supply from Sri Lanka. So, but if you look at the failures and then stop what you're trying to do, then of course you will accept failure. But if you don't accept failure, you can never be a failure. I have plenty of such examples in my life. A lot of obstacles are there, but it's a matter of having your confidence and finding out alternate ways of doing it. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
It's another question. I can see lots of potential for renewable in Sri Lanka, but there are some technical and financial difficulties to be overcome to make it possible. If your opinion is, if it is possible for someone to thrive in that sector with the current political situation, don't worry about the political situation. We'll change the country. We'll try to change them also. But I know of one person who sent me a message. It's not fair for me to mention his name. He is employing more than 20,000 people, whereas we don't employ that much. We have only much fewer people compared to him. He sent me a message saying, just want to keep you informed that my becoming an entrepreneur was listening to your Entrepreneur of the Year speech, which you made at BMICH. I was a young boy sitting behind in the back rows listening to you, and I decided that we will do a thing. And he has set up a huge business. And to answer the question that you have said about financing, he didn't have finances, but he got other people to finance. He got many people. He said he managed to raise 40 million just by telling the few investors about his what he is trying to do. So renewable energy and new things. If you have any problems, even you are free to even contact me. I will support you and putting you into various forums, fight with you for wherever we have to. This is the time that engineers have to really come forward. If the country doesn't have the necessary laws and changes, we'll fight and get it changed. That we can do. That power now we have. We can go to various forums, we can lobby, and then we can tell them the importance of doing it, and then we take it forward that nobody can reverse those things. But this country had been unfortunately going in the wrong direction most of the time. Now it's time that we really think in a different way and then take it forward. Another question, why don't you all talk? You're only writing. So can you share your experience, how you were not successful in agriculture business, and what did you do? Because actually I am also interested in the one thing is I was not successful because I didn't know any technical things. Just because my father had a land, I cultivated green gram. I told him that I'll try to cultivate green gram, and I tried it. It was not successful. I didn't even know the real techniques of agriculture. Number two, I didn't even ask for any advice. Number three, I had no driving force. Why I should? Just because I want to do something, I tried it. So that's probably why I made a failure. But if I had a real reason of getting the crops out, and if I was after it, I would have got right advice. I would have got the right guidance and then done it properly. But that driving force wasn't there. It was just trying something new for the sake of trying. Same here in the field of green gram. I can remember, I think I got the crop quite similar to the amount I used for the plantation, or maybe a little more than that. It's common experience, because when we don't have the knowledge of what we are trying to do, we need to really acquire it. When I set up the kick blocks factory, I told you I didn't have the knowledge. Although I'm a mechanical engineer, I didn't have the knowledge. But fortunately, I managed to, again, when we know the things, as I told you, opportunities come in the way. I was planning the factory building, still not exactly knowing what to do. As I told you, wanted to start. So I got down the contractors, and then I was talking to them about setting up a factory. And one of the contractor who came to do the factory, he is the one who told me, so there is a person who seemed to be knowing about this. Can I ask him to come and talk to you? You can get him as a consultant. So this particular person came and then spoke to me, and we became friends. And finally, forgetting about the consultancy, he was keen in joining me. So he is also now with us, and he joined us, and today also he's here, he's with us. And then he had all the knowledge. So that's how we set up the new kick blocks factory. So the knowledge has to be acquired. So in the green gram, if we acquired that knowledge, we would have done much better than what we did. Okay, so if no other questions, we can then wind up the meeting. And anyone of you, if you want any support or any ideas, please send me a message in LinkedIn, and then or even you can send me a text or whatever email. My email is lalit@kak.lk. Ask anything, then I would support you to the best of my ability.
So I hope with that we have come to the end of the Q&A session, and I hope all the participants had their chance to get their questions answered. Of course, it's been a brilliant evening for all of us. I'm sure all of our participants had such a great time listening and learning about how to develop our careers as engineers and entrepreneurs. I humbly thank you, Mr. Lalit Kahadapitiya, for the insights and knowledge that you imparted with the audience. So now it's the time to extend our gratitude to our guest speaker, Mr. Lalit Kahadapitiya, for accepting our invitation to grace this occasion and conducting such a valuable session for all of the undergraduates of our university. Dear sir, on behalf of the Electrical Engineering Society of the University of Moratuwa, please accept our heartfelt gratitude with this token of appreciation.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir. And before we close